運が悪かったんだよ、お前らは。
おう、ちょうどいい時に来たな。
どうかしたのか？
いや、さっきここにおめえを訪ねてきた女がいたんだが。
誰だ？
死んだ堂島宗平の女、堂島弥生だ。
なんだと？
おめえが殺した組長の妻だ。これはなんかあるなと突っぱね返したんだがな。おめえが来たらこれを渡せって頼まれてよ。
背景、桐生一馬様。
Wow, Sama.
10年前のあの場所
Breaking out the Sama.
お話がございます。お一人でいらっしゃってください。警具、堂島弥生。
そこは今じゃ堂島組の残党どもの巣窟だ。どう考えてもおめえの弾取ろうとした罠よ。桐生、行くんじゃねえぞ。
I think I'll be fine, dude. Like, come on. If our places were reversed, would I have your life and you mine? What would be different if Nishiki had taken responsibility all those years ago after all? Well, Kiryu would have taken his place as the head of his own family. We know things with Yumi would have been a lot different. Because Kazuma would probably have kept Kiryu in the loop about what was going on with Yumi, that he found her and what her situation was. Because by that point, Nishiki had already gone so far off course that Kazuma couldn't rely on him as an asset anymore. What would have happened to Nishiki in prison? Maybe he would have been killed. Maybe he would have been targeted. Maybe he would have been fine. Nishiki's not a weak man. Would Kiryu, in his position of power as the head of his own family, been able to extend some influence of his own in order to protect Nishiki while he was in prison? And then, hopefully, if he had survived his stint in prison, accepted him back into the fold? Or would Nishiki have just been straight up banished? Would Nishiki have benefited from a boost in reputation for killing Dojima in the way Kiryu seemed to? Like it was a bad thing to do, but Dojima sucked, and at the end of the day, all that matters is your street cred. Who's to say what could have been if things had been different? If fate had been allowed to play out the way that it intended for them? Who can say? You can't change the past, but you can take responsibility for it. You can't change the cards you were dealt. But you can still play your hand. Wow, those fingernails.
あの人が死んでもう10年になるね。
弥生姉さん、ご無沙汰しています。
私はね、あんたがいずれは堂島組を背負ってくれるもんだと信じてたんだよ。この落とし前つけさせてもらうよ。
キリュウ、ぶち殺せるわ。
しばき倒したれや。弾取ったるわ。
In the end, the mistake that Kiryu made, the thing that he has to take responsibility for, was not killing Dojima. It was taking Nishiki's responsibility for himself. It was taking the blame for killing Dojima. If Nishiki had killed Dojima, no one would be disappointed. He wouldn't have been throwing away any potential. Kiryu did. People expected things of Kiryu. And whether he killed Dojima or not, he threw that potential away by taking responsibility for that crime.
「堂島をやったのはお前なのかい？あんた誰かをかばってるね。誰なんだい？一体誰がやったんだい？
その答え、俺に少しの間預からせてもらえないでしょうか。俺が必ずけじめをつけてお答えに上がります。
In the end, Dojima was not a good man. He wasn't even a good Yakuza. Can't imagine he was a good husband. But he was still the head of the Dojima family. And he was still her husband. And even though the reason he's dead is because he kidnapped some random chick off the street to bang her, hey man, still can't fuck with a bitch's wife, still can't fuck with a bitch's husband and get away with it. But anyway, all of Kiryu's baggage, all the unfinished business has been accounted for. Oh, fuck off, please! If it wasn't fucking you guys, it would have been fucking Majima, for fuck's sake. Why are there so many of them, too? God damn, this fucking game sometimes, I swear to fucking God. All of Kiryu's unfinished business is accounted for. There's just one last thing to deal with before the end game. One last ancillary element to attend to. And that's the true final boss of Yakuza Kiwami. The time has come. And Kiwami means extreme.
おい
We're playing Yakuza Kiwami as our first Yakuza game, remember?
いや
Are you Reggie? I'm Reggie. The true final challenge of Yakuza Kiwami. The time is now, and the day is today. So Joe Amon is the secret boss of every Yakuza game. After you complete all of the sub-stories in the game, Joe Amon is unlocked. And here's what's bullshit about Joe Amon, is in the original fucking PS2 games. Yeah, but Joe Amon's bullshit, by the way. In the original PS2 games, you had to do everything. You had to completely max out your completion list. It wasn't just sub-stories. You had to do all of the food. You have to eat all of the food in the game. You have to do all the hostess clubs. You have to do all of the mini-games. You have to do absolutely fucking everything the game has to offer. You see this shit? You gotta max it out. You gotta complete it to the extreme degree. Only then will Amon be unlocked. Only then will Amon be available to fight as the final challenge at the end when there's nothing left for the game to offer you. And to be honest, that's fucking bullshit, and it always was, and it's like, holy shit, how no one ever fucking unlocked Amon. Like, fuck off. Every game, every new Yakuza game, the terms to unlock the Amon boss fight have gotten, like, less and less demanding. It started out with clear the completion list. Everything. Do every heat action in the game. Do every sub-story. Do all the mini-games. Absolutely fucking everything. I'm not exaggerating. Only then would Joe Amon become available. But, starting with Yakuza 3, it became... You have to do... Fucking shit. You have to do all the sub-stories and then certain parts of the completion list. You don't have to do all the heat actions or anything like that. Or like, all the food items. I don't believe. And then, starting with... Yakuza 4, it became all the sub-stories, and I believe all of the, no, I think it's just all the sub-stories. With every new Yakuza game, the requirements for unlocking the Joe Amon fight have gotten smaller and smaller. I think that's really fucking funny. So anyway, the Joe Amon boss fight is the ultimate challenge, the ultimate final battle of any given Yakuza game, because it is the hardest fucking boss fight in the game, and it is bullshit. The reason it's such a challenge is because he straight up cheats. He is straight up OP bullshit. He is straight up like breaking the rules of the game. Like, look at how fast he's attacking. He's throwing fucking grenades when you try and do a combo on him. He, like, you think, oh, well, it's not that bad. I mean, he's almost dead. Oh, is he? Is he now? I ask you. If you look at the life bar that currently exists, and I ask you, do you think that is all? Look at how much health he fucking took down with that fucking shit. You think this is it? You think it's over? It ain't over. You thought this was over, but it ain't over till you did. It ain't over till it's over, motherfucker! This isn't even my final form, bitch! Straight up, like, exploiting, like, game physics. It's always bullshit. The Amon fight is always one you straight up have to cheese out in order to have any chance. And you're not gonna do it on, like, your first try. Yeah, look at that. Fuck! Look at how much health that took out. Jomon is a straight up unfair boss fight in every fucking game. And it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be, like, the final piece of gameplay that the game has to provide to you. It's supposed to unlock after you've done literally everything else. Like, this is the last thing you do. Once you have completed Joamon, you have completed this Yakuza game. The Yakuza game is over. You've beaten Joamon. And it goes back to the old standby, like Matthew Matosis put it into good words, which is like, the game's easiest optional challenge should be more difficult than the game's hardest mandatory challenge. Because the fact that Joamon is optional and only unlocked after clearing all other content that the game has to offer is why it's okay. It's okay for it to be completely unfair SNK boss fight levels of arcade exploit, game mechanic exploit bullshit. Because you've done everything else. Like, there's no way you're getting them on before you've beaten the game at least once, for one thing. And you're definitely not beating him on your first try also. He's supposed to be extremely fucking unfair and unreasonable as the final challenge. Now, once you have beaten him on, you can put the game away. You're done with Yakuza. And like I said before, Kiryu does every sub-story. Every piece of side content and activity and sub-story and side quest is canon. Kiryu did the sub-story with the doctor, for example. It's canon that he did that, because he shows up in a future game. So all of the Amon fights are also canon. Kiryu canonically did everything that the game has to offer and fought Amon. So when he shows up in a future game, he's like, you motherfucker, I'm gonna kick your ass because you beat me in my secret boss fight that one time, and I'm gonna get my revenge. So ultimately, throughout the series, Amon is Kiryu's true, like, nemesis. Kiryu's true, enemy. His true long-standing, series-long, villain is Amon, because he's always standing at the— yeah, fuck it, I don't give a shit. I don't care. Fuck this. At the end of the day, Joamon is like Kiryu's most long-standing nemesis, who always shows up at the end of his most recent adventure. So much to the point that the next generation, Kiryu's, like, legacy ends up coming into conflict with Amon's next generation also. This is a cross-generational rivalry between Kiryu and Amon. Even beyond that, in one game, which is debatably canon, Kiryu ends up dealing with previous members of the Amon family that predate Amon. Yes, there is a Amon clan. Joamon is not the only one that Kiryu runs afoul of. It's fucking awesome. Amon's the best. Amon for Tekken. Or Amon for King of Fighters, yeah. King of Fighters would be a perfect fit for Amon with his cheap-ass bullshit. So in the end, though, it does feel kind of funny to do Amon's fight and then run in to deal with the final conflict of the game at the top of Millennium Tower. Because, I mean, after Amon, anything else is kind of a step down. So again, the fact that Kiryu canonically fights Amon in every game kind of makes the fact that, I mean, like, because of the timing of when the Amon fights happen, the fact that he has to fight Amon before the final conflict with the final boss means that Kiryu is going into that final boss having already beaten Amon, who is way more of a threat than the final boss could ever hope to be against Kiryu. So it ends up kind of unintentionally making Kiryu seem even more badass, that he's like, I'm gonna fuck up Amon and then go deal with the final boss. And like, what hope can the final boss have of being any kind of anything to Kiryu after Kiryu is walking into that room to fight the final boss with Amon's fresh blood on his hands? So, clearly what's happening with the Amon fucking shit boss fight here is he's going through Kiryu's playstyle of using the dragon style, only maxed out to being completely bullshit. And then, his second life bar, he's switching over to using Majima's Mad Dog style, with the knife maxed out to completely OP bullshit. And Amon in every game will have, like, different phases like that. And I cheaped out and did it on easy mode, I don't give a shit. Different phases where he'll pull out different weapons and just do more and more completely bullshit. Like, this isn't even the same genre of game anymore. We have transitioned to a shmup in the middle of this boss fight. Amon's always a great fight in every game. It's always bullshit. Just Tiger drop him to death. Every game, Tiger drop him.
Nani?
Yep, so we got a second pair of sunglasses. So, the dialogue is different compared to what it was in the original game, because Kiwami. I still feel like that preserves the experience of Joe Amon quite well. So now, with all the sub-stories completed, with Joe Amon defeated, we can move with two pairs of sunglasses on our face. We can move on and complete the game. Next time, Yakuza 1 will be completed. The mystery of the 10 billion yen and the missing Yumi shall be resolved. And in the ashes of one man's plans and another man's ambitions, a new family will rise from the ashes.
もう準備は整いましたか
I'm Reggie.
ああ、もう大丈夫だ。
わかりました。桐生さん、もう俺たちにできることはありません。月並みなことしか言えませんが、頑張ってください。
ああ、わかった。ありがとうな。
なんだか外の様子がいつもと少し違う感じがします。気をつけてください。
あそこにお母さんが。
そうだ。やっと会えるな。
おじさん、私なんて呼べばいいんだろう。
弓お姉ちゃんって呼ぶのか。お母さんでいいんだ、はるか。
うん。おじさん。
ケリュウ、あんたやら登場界の4代目から直々の褒美が出る。
4代目。
金持ちも女もな、何年ぶち込まれても釣りが来るぜ。
今夜は暑いぜ。なんせ殺しのお墨付きだ。次期会長錦山さんのな。
はるか、心配するな。何があってもお前を守る。必ず弓に合わせてやる。信じてくれるな。
やっつけて、おじさん。
手加減はしねえ。死にてえやつだけかかってこい。
Step the fuck up, it's time to die! Mob. One final army of nefarious ne'er-do-wells for Kiryu to fucking eviscerate single-handedly before the final boss. Another series staple. I think because of the limitations of the original game and the fact that they were doing something new with tech that they were unfamiliar with for the most part, it led to this kind of being a one-screen fight in this one little loaded area outside of Stardust, which would have been the same location that we had the boss fight with Yuya in. It's the same, like, battlescape location, and not quite so much with a, kind of a proper brawl, 100-man brawl through the streets of Kamurocho, like it might have originally been intended to be, which is why, when they do this same thing in Yakuza 2, they do have it be a, 100-man brawl through the winding streets of Kamurocho. But in this game, they kind of try to evoke that effect, but it's just in this one location right outside Stardust. And it's just like 100 men coming around outside Stardust to beat the shit out of Kiryu and getting absolutely fucking eviscerated. But you can kind of see, like, what they would have wanted to do if they had more experience and, like, wherewithal with the PS2 hardware and what they wanted to achieve with the technology that was available to them at the time. They probably would have wanted you running through the streets from Stardust to the front of Millennium Tower in a open beat-em-up section, similar to how you run through the funeral house at Tojo headquarters. But because of the limitations, they probably weren't able to model out, you know, the entirety of the streets of Kamurocho as one big sweeping arcade sequence in that same way. They just had load states of different battle locations where if a random battle triggered in that part of the city, it would load into this pre-modeled location to have that battle in. They probably didn't have the time or resources or understanding of the PS2 hardware to model out the entirety of the Kamurocho streets in the arcadey battle sequence style of gameplay. at the time. But they did manage to do that later on. Once they had more under their belt. This fucking antagonist police officer at the end of everything. Surely he shall be a final boss for us to deal with on top of this Jingu person. Oh yeah, so one final walk through town with Haruka to the top of Millennium Tower. The Tower of Destiny. Okay, Haruka, do that trick with the elevator again, because I don't remember how to do it.
隠れてろ、はるか。こそこそしねえで出てきやがれ。
MIA. The CIA. So Kiryu just tore ass through a bunch of punks in the street. Now it's time to tear ass through some government officials and Black Ops operatives. The only sense of influence that Jingu has had on the plot so far has been us fighting these exact guys in Stardust earlier in the plot. MIA. The CIA. The MIB. Oh shit. Why don't you guys all have guns? You guys are the worst. You guys aren't very good at this. I gotta say. When it comes to shady Black Ops government officials who, like, do the wet work, you guys are not impressing me. I gotta admit. Am I still on easy mode from the Amon fight? I don't think I am. Let me double check. No, I'm not. Okay, good. Man, I love this theme. I love this music that's playing right now. It gets used a lot through this series, and it fucking should, because it's fucking so good! You guys bringing guns is just making this easier on me, to be honest. First of all, I have a heat move to kill you specifically when you're holding a gun. And then I pick up your gun, and I use it to kill your friends. You guys are really fucking bad at this. See, thank you. I just wasted 6 shots on your boss. Time to kill you, use your gun, and then shoot your boss with it. How dare you, sir. Oh my god! It's time! Right at the end. Right at the end of it all. Right at the end of Yakuza 1, it is time to begin like a dragon. Rise to the heavens like a dragon. Well, that gives you a good sense of reference of when this video was recorded. Literally the night of Yakuza 7's release. Now you know. Fucker. Well, with that sense of finality established... Seamless transition, guys. Great job.